How's that? Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Good morning. He needs a day off. Can you hear me now? Let me know. Mute button has Mountain Dew stuck on it. All right, so nobody can hear me? Yeah, okay, now you can hear me. Okay, so I mean, sorry about that, guys. I guess I had the mute button pushed on the actual mic, so apologies about that. All right, now let's get things going. So, Drake, what do you got? First, greetings and salutations, Coach Dan. What do you have for us today? I'm interested in this topic. So, I promised you guys I would do a deeper dive into Jameson Williams. I tried to go back last night and what a mess up. Yeah, I get it, man. Hey, it happens. Uh, so, anyways, I promised you guys I would try to do a little bit deeper dive on Jameson Williams and everything that. He did in college. I tried to get some film on Ohio State, which I did, and then obviously Alabama. Then I started comparing it to some film last year on him and this year, because we can all say, hey, yes, he's got blazing speed. I'm sorry, I'm reading some of the comments. Blazing speed, athleticism. At any rate, I wanted to also see how he's progressed in some of his progressions here. So I'm going to say this. Here's what I came up with. So when you look at him, Ohio State, I think most of you guys know that he wasn't one of their primary receivers. And I wanted to know why, because obviously at Alabama, he was an impactful player. So I couldn't find a ton of tape without just going through hours and hours of stuff. And I'm not willing to do that on this. But what I could find is if you look at his route tree, his footwork, and his ability to come out of breaks, yeah, he was not very sound in his time at Ohio State. Now you look at Alabama, and I could say this, at Alabama, you could see some progression, but a little bit deeper dive into him, you could also see they were really restricting him to certain specific routes. I mean, they would occasionally throw some other things at him, but just there wasn't a lot of growth in his development as a receiver. I will say this for Alabama, they found ways to maximize return on what he did well. So now you go to the Lions, and there's not a ton of film on him from a year ago, but you could see some things. And I always felt last year, I didn't dive into too much. I thought they were just trying to be really protectful of his knee, his injuries, etc. So you look at most of his routes, and I'm just going to focus for now on the Lions. Everything last year, other than like the end arounds or whatever, and I'm not going to count that as route tree progression. But he couldn't, they restrict him to basically what I would call fly patterns, streaks, and posts. Something that, basically routes that did not require a lot of footwork technique or set up with your hips and your shoulders to fake out defensive backs. Now, this year, on the other hand, Jameson Williams has evolved. He has improved. We might not all be fans of the drops and things of that sort, but I'm just talking about his footwork and his route running. It's come a long way. So I'm trying to be as fair to the kid as possible when I make these assessments. His hands have to improve. I do believe a lot of that is just nerves. But from what I can see from progression, from watching him again at Ohio State, Alabama, the last year at Detroit, he's come a long way. So I will say this for Lions fans. I know I've come out and said, hey, the coach in me says I just want to see a little progression here and here and here. He's progressed more than I think any of us realize. His run blocking also, if you go back to college to where it is now, it's completely different. The kid has definitely improved in that regard. So I think the couple things remaining from him, I don't think he's very accustomed to going across the middle of the field. Some of the inner routes where you're dealing with linebackers and safeties more and more. So I think that's going to take a little bit more time for him to just kind of mentally take a moment of pause, a deep breath, and get into things. So, all right, there's a little bit longer answer than you probably figured out of the gates, but we'll get into a little bit more as the show goes on here. Lions fan number one, good morning all. Looks like Coach Dan did some homework. I did. Yeah, I spent some time on it. Phil, welcome to the Dan Do Thornton Network. All right, I'll go with that, man. AJ, what do you got? Coach D, the Chargers pass rush looks legit, and their team seems to be hitting a groove. I would agree with that. Yeah, they're figuring some things out. They're definitely getting improved. I will say this for us. if you watch the Jets game Monday night, they looked not so great as far as pass protection. The Jets, as you guys probably all know, they don't have a lot of guys on the offensive line. A lot of guys were out, injured, etc., and that definitely played a factor in some of their blocking assignments. Now, with that being said, we're going to get some guys back who didn't play last week, and in Jonah Jackson's case, it's been weeks. So I do expect a little bit of rust early, but after that, I would say I think our line's pretty set up to help negate some of that pass rush. Doesn't mean they won't have guys get hits on Goff or whatever, but I will say this: I don't think it'll look as bad as, or their pass rush won't look as great as it did against the Jets. Phil, keep hitting the like button to push the show out to larger audiences. Thanks for that, Phil. Thank you very much. Damien, good morning, all. Jay Will needs to show up sooner versus later. He does, and I think they're aware of it, but I'm also saying just from what I can see on the film, not being in practice with them, anything like that, not involving personality traits, I'm just saying from a mechanical standpoint, it's clear to me he's progressed quite a bit just from last year to this year. So if the trend is our friend, then by the end of the year, I think he should be much better as well. He still is going to have to come down to, catching the ball. You can have all the footwork and route running concepts down, but if you can't catch it, then your job as a wide receiver becomes pretty limited. All right, Jason, what do you got? Found this show about a week ago. You do pretty good work. Thanks for that, man. Other than messing up and having the mute on at the first 30 seconds or so of the show, yeah, I guess it's going okay. And now I got a blur on the camera. All right, Trey, hey all, greetings and salutations, same to you. Hope you're having a good one. Phil, best show in the state and very different. Thanks for that. Trey, yep. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Phil, yep. Same to you, by the way. Ryan, top of the Mountain Dew to you, Seinfeld impression. Thanks for that, man. Pan Cooley, good evening, all. Lions fan from China. Well, ni hao ma to you too. So hope you're having a good one. All right, Ryan, greetings and salutations, Ryan. Zaziel, yep. I got that, Phil. All right, Ryan, talk about the GVSU kid. Detroit was afraid he was going to get signed by another team. Yeah, and I haven't done a ton of work on him, Ryan, so I'm going to have limited knowledge. I'm just going to be upfront. I'm not going to fake it like I know a ton about the kid, but it does seem like he's going to fit the mold of the team. He can play a couple different spots, positions. He can play basically, in my impressions, all the linebacker spots, although I don't think you probably want to play in the mic too much. So I'll try to, let's be fair, before I throw too much out there, I'll try to do a little bit more homework on him tonight and try to have more, meaningful information for you tomorrow. But yeah, I'll do some deep diving on that. All right, Phil, what are you driving? Is your Tesla being repaired? It doesn't go into the 12th. So they did the, what do you call it? The appraisal on it or whatever, where they, figure out what they got to do to it. But it's still drivable. There's just a dent in it. And yeah, they'll fix it a couple days in December. Mile marker, yay. Thursday night football. Good morning. Good morning to you too. And yeah, I'm with you. I'll be watching some football tonight. Garland, yeah, glad there is football tonight. 100%. Yeah, I think, you go a couple days without it. It's that time of year, especially since it's getting darker out earlier. Just something to kind of look forward to. They have Trevor in hiding till we need him. Okay, I'll go with that. And there's probably some truth to that. Greetings and salutations, everyone from Garland. Yeah, I knew where you meant, Phil. Yeah, I got you, man. James, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you too. Michael, same to you. Michael Jordan, man, this is a good one. All right, Phil, I'm not hearing anything. Yeah, it sounds like, this has got to be from when I'm muted. Sorry about that, guys. I'm glad you guys pointed out, though. He needs a day off. Yeah, no such thing, man. No such thing. Yeah, I need to get lit up on that one. Sorry, man. When I picked up the mic, I must have, thumb hit the button or something when I was picking it up and put it on the desk here. Alan Carr, the mute button has Mountain Dew stuck on it. It might, man. It just might. Phil, yep. There you go. All right, one funky, yeah. All right, now I'm back. All right, I'm catching up here. Yep. All right, man, I'm going through these pretty quick here. All right, Phil. Yep. All right, here we go. All right, now you guys are all right. Trying to, yeah. What a mess up. It happens. All right, Max, I just want to know if this is going to be a tough game Sunday. I think it will be, Max. It's definitely a game I would say we can win, but I will also say this. So I think we match up fairly well with them. Now I'm gonna probably come out and say that, and something will get exposed or whatever. But that's what good coaches do. They find chinks in armors. We've talked about it, you guys and I on this channel. To me, the times the Lions have really struggled in this year and last year is when they run into veteran quarterbacks teamed up with veteran coaches. They can just find subtle nuances in the game that maybe our coaching staff hasn't evolved to yet to understand how to make in-game adjustments with. And I won't go a ton into that, but I think most of you guys get the idea when I say that. What we do have this game is, so just starting from player personnel, they can rush the passer. So that's a problem for us because we're going to have some guys that are getting back into the lineup on the offensive line that haven't been around in a while. Goff, if you give him time, he will destroy a team. When you can get pressure on him, although when I say this, it's kind of stupid because you can say that with any quarterback. If you get enough pressure on them, they're all going to get a little rattled because nobody likes getting hit repeatedly by 300-pound dudes. So I'm going to say this. To me, the game's going to come down to our ability to stop them from getting hits on Goff. We do that, our offense, especially now that we've got seemingly everybody back, is going to score some points. Unless something happens, we just don't show up, have the worst game ever, we should score a bunch of points on this team. And again, that's as long as we keep the rush at bay. Defensively, I think is where we're going to have some challenges. They don't have any speed burners or guys that I think other than Allen. I know there's a guy they have who's been a little injured at wide receiver. His name escapes me right now. He's probably the only one that I would say is somewhat of a legitimate, consistent deep threat. He can get open. Watching some film on him, and I apologize, I don't remember his name offhand, but I know he's been dinged up. I don't know if he'll be back this week. So if we don't get pressure on Herbert, he is athletic enough where he can get out and cause some runs. He's not going to take it to the house from 80 yards away or anything, but he can get 5-6 yards every time he rushes. Aaron Glenn's going to be tested this game because he's got to A, stop a mobile quarterback without the cone formation, and then B, he's got to get hits on that dude or he can cause us some issues. So there's my long answer to your question. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I'm still going to take us by a touchdown. Maybe I'm a homer. All right, Derwin, what do you got? Who starts at back? I'm going to throw something at you guys. I think we're going to see, maybe not all the time, Derwin. I think Montgomery probably starts unless that injury is not quite where they want to be. And I do anticipate Montgomery will wear a flak jacket, and I described it yesterday. But I'm going to guess he starts. But I will say this. I think we're probably going to see some old school football more and more out of the Lions where you're going to have some 21 personnel. So, again, like we talked about on the show, the first number is the number of running backs you're going to have on the field. The second number is typically how many tight ends or receivers you have on the field. So if you guys are old enough to remember like 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s football, where you had a lot of two split back formations. So quarterback here, two backs behind them split out. I do think that there's going to be some potential for the Lions to start bringing some of that back to the NFL. I could also see where we run some, pseudo 13 personnel with both the backs out there. So what does that mean? Gibbs will line up out wide as a slot receiver, out wide receiver. And then based on who they have cover him, they may motion him into the backfield with Montgomery and have Montgomery almost be like a lead back or a fullback blocking for him on specific plays. We haven't seen that yet, so it's just purely my speculation. But based on some of Campbell's comments, based on some of the things I think we're trending towards seeing with the team, I would say there's some real strong possibilities we will see the return of a two-back formation in Detroit. All right. Good morning, Dr. D. Max, hopefully Gibbs starts Sunday. He could, but I'm just saying I think Montgomery will. Who knows, man? Maybe they do have them both start. Gibbs, yeah. Starting, yeah. J-Mo, I don't think J-Mo will start, Phil. I think he'll probably come in off the bench. That's been more of his routine, unless, with that being said, though, if they really have seen him improve, if they really think this is his opportunity, Marvin Jones has been out. They have started some other people over him, but maybe this is the time they start Jameson Williams, and you go with him, Laporta, maybe Reynolds, and St. Brown, obviously. So we'll see. Did Gibbs practice full yesterday? As far as practice, yes. Did they allow him to take any pounding? Probably not. They're probably going to be very careful with him for the foreseeable future, just because he's going to wear some chest protection to protect that. Like I said, a flak jacket. But they're probably going to limit what he sees in practice, and probably Gibbs too. They're probably not going to expose them to hits much. Yesterday, I know it was a padded practice. They did use one of the remaining ones on it. We talked about that yesterday morning, that I thought that would probably be where they go since they've had a week or so off. They got to get the body ready for those hits again. You don't want to do it all on Sunday. So get them a little bit exposed, but I'm going to guess that with both the running backs, they're going to be very careful from here on out. JMO, yeah. Yep, JMO. Phil, I guess maybe I'm missing what you're saying there, but let me know. Brent, greetings and salutations to Duke crew. Good morning, everyone. I'm ready for the game Sunday. Yeah, me too. It's going to be a good one. And I know I was talking to somebody, one of you guys, I won't say who, but they did call me up yesterday about some housing questions or real estate questions. We got talking about it, and I just said that, hey, really hates having to not have the 1 o'clock games because you get so kind of used to that on Sundays. But it is what it is. Yeah, the price of success for the team, I would say. Max, Gibbs over Montgomery is all I'm saying. And they might, man. They might. We'll see what happens. Phil, his blocking has been really good. Jameson, yeah, it has. He's, again, going back to what I said, where we could see where he was early in college to where he was at the end of college and where he is now in the pros. His run blocking, I would say, has gone up 70%. I will also say, if you want me to give it like a number on what I'm seeing of his footwork and hips and in just route running, it's come a long way. I would say just from last year, which is really, I get it's his rookie year, but I'm counting this year as his rookie year. It's probably gone up like 40%, maybe 50%. And I get that doesn't seem high, but when you think about how, I don't want to say bad, but he was very unpolished, I guess would be a good way to say it, in college. And where he's at now, he looks a lot better. He's still behind where he should be, but I'll say this. I'm seeing more promise out of Jameson Williams from watching the films and stuff. It's just really a lot of this stuff he should have known coming out of college. He didn't. I'm surprised, to be honest, surprised he got drafted at 12 by Lions, but I get they were also drafting his potential more than where he currently was, or was at that time, I should say. Bergs, good morning, Duke crew. Good morning to you too. Did Monty practice fully yesterday? Yeah, but I think, like I said earlier, I just don't think they were going to expose him to many hits. So he was out there doing things, but I'm pretty sure, almost like the quarterbacks with the red jerseys, I'm going to guess both running backs were kind of roughly in that same situation. Nine Drinks, good morning, all. Good morning to you too. Hopefully you're having a bright, sunny day. JP, good morning, Dan. Let's go Lions. Let's go, everybody. Donkey Kong, man. I've been waiting a couple days on this one. Super Bowl or bust. Where you been, man? All right. Ed, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. My favorite stadium to watch a Lions game was Briggs Stadium. What was yours? Ooh. Probably Pontiac Silverdome, and I'm probably being a little bit of a homer just because it's the first game I ever saw the Lions at. I want to say 78, 79. I mean, right in that range. And I remember, I was just kind of a kid then. And I remember walking down there with my dad and one of my brothers. And yeah, it was just massive looking around and seeing all these people, whatever it was, like 70,000 people. It was something for, whatever age I was then, 6, 7, 8, something like that. Tony, good morning. Good morning to you. Bergs, yes. Monty was full participant yesterday. Two-headed monster is ready. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I think, and I could be way off, but given his injury that he's recovering from, yeah, he was basically, no fly zone for the defense to hit. All right, Dr. D, cool to have fans in China. That is bad. Yeah. So as you guys know, I've, this channel, I guess you'd say, it's one thing about the internet, man. You got people everywhere. I know we got, was it Mike from Hawaii. I know there's been a couple of you that said they're from like the UK or Europe and stuff. Singapore, I know a few people have said. So that's something, man. Chinese, Dan. I do know a little bit. Having coached over there for a while, you pick up stuff. So ni hao ma, ute, shoot, stuff like that. So yeah, you pick up stuff. You have to. All right, Max, JMO has more time now that we have Peoples Jones. Good pickup. Yeah, I think that's the other thing with Peoples Jones. It is clear every coaching staff wants wide receivers to block on running plays. I think we all understand that. But I also say you look at Peoples Jones, you look at Jameson Williams, you look at St. Brown, you look at Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. These dudes can all come out and block, and they do it well. So to be fair to all the receivers, regardless of drops or route running or whatever, they are all similar in that regard. They come out ready to play. All right, Jesse, good morning. When we make it to the divisional round, and if CJ Gardner-Johnson is back, does he play or do we keep Tracy in? I'll say this, man. I do think, Jesse, that there's a real opportunity for CJ. I get he's changed his name, but I'm just going to say CJ to be back latter part of next month, maybe in the middle. But, I mean, if 2-3 weeks ago he was already doing push-ups, he's pretty healed. Now, I get they're probably letting all the tissues formulate and, fully recover. But I think there's a real opportunity for him to be back in the regular season. With that said, Tracy Walker has not played bad. My only knock on him, and you guys have heard me say it, is I think he's a great hitter. I think he's meh in coverage. And I think he's the guy that nearly makes plays, gets the interception or fumble, but he doesn't get there. So the question to me is going to be when CJ returns and he gets on the practice field, how quickly can he get back into things? And then the coaching staff is going to have a real question out there. I guess you could also, I don't know, man. I'm not going to dive too much into it, but how about this? Whatever it is, the team's going to be better for it because they're going to have more depth and better players on the field. So my guess is it will be Tracy. I guess what I should just say to you, Jesse, is I think it'll be Tracy's job to lose. He's going to have to just get outperformed to lose it at that point. All right, one funky. I always find it funny how every other position in the league, people say it takes 3 years, but when it comes to wide receiver, everyone thinks it should be good to go. Don't care if his QB can't hit him in stride. Yeah, receiver's tough, man, and you guys have heard me talk about it before. Most of the receivers I really remember coming to Detroit, and I'm just using the Lions ones. I'm not worried about someone else somewhere else. But they do take a while. I mean, Johnny Morton, I would say he took a couple years to really start getting into it. Same with Herman Moore. Same with, Calvin. There's just been a lot of them. So from what I can say, and again, you saying that this is just Jameson Williams' rookie year in all earnestness, his footwork's definitely improved. His run blocking's improved. His hip structure, his ability to turn, that's all improved. The hands need to be cleaned up. If he does that, then I think later this year or next year, you're going to really have something there. And I get we all want something now. We all want everybody to be Sam Laporta, where you're just top of the league from the day you get here. But that's just not realistic for most players. All right, Michael Jordan, what do you got? He was, just much faster and more athletic at Alabama. He could just, I agree. Watching him there, we've talked about it, I think even this week on it. He was just, the problem I think he's faced is what you're exactly pointing out, Michael. He's been allowed by every coaching staff prior to this one just to be the more athletic, get on the field. So they never really focused so much on the nuances of developing his skills. And because his skills were never developed more, now that he's up there and he's still more athletic than 99% of the defenders out there, it's just he's not egregiously more athletic than everybody. So now he needs more skill work, and he is developing, I think. So I think we just got to give him time. Hello, Coach. Damo is a real kid. That is what I appreciate about him. If this fast, ferocious society doesn't gobble him up, he will reward us. Terry Bradshaw, his first year, threw a handful of TDs. And it's just, and Silver, to your point, and Michael's point, it's just part of things nowadays. I think, look at the Gibbs first game against Kansas City. I think most people were like, yeah, we see some flashes out there. Most of the fans were happy because Montgomery was mostly utilized the next couple of games until the Atlanta game. Everybody was like, man, this guy's a bust. Why did we draft him? We should have drafted 4 other guys at number 12, not this guy. It takes time. Not everybody comes in and just lights it up. Think about Peyton Manning. I mean, that dude couldn't. His rookie year, nobody probably guessed he would be who he became. And there's, 50 billion other players in multiple different sports leagues that fit that same story. So, we'll see. I think from what I'm seeing, like I said, the more I studied him the last day or so, and looking at all the film, I think he's progressing, and we should all probably just back him and say, hey, he's a rookie. We're getting what we can out of him, but he is developing. All right, Max, toilet bowl tonight. I want to see who loses. Can they both lose? I guess if they got a tie, right? It's not a win. Come back, Sack. Do you think JMO can catch a cold? Yeah, I think he can catch a cold, and I think he's going. I've said enough already today. I think he's going to be. He's going to be fine in time. Really, the last missing link is just getting his hand structured down a little bit more. I want to see when he uses his hands. I want to see more thumbs pointing at each other and then closing them around the ball. Right now, as most of you guys know, he holds his elbows in and he waits almost like a basket catch. He's waiting for it. I know some of you guys said like a punt or kickoff. He does that a lot. So he's got to start getting the thumbs out, and then as the ball gets closer, create a diamond around it to catch. So he'll get that down. It's just he's going through a lot of learning, and he is developing. All right, Silver, what do you got? And over 20 interceptions, Bradshaw, that is. Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks go for it, man. I still think, while I wasn't happy that we drafted Andre Ware, just because I thought he was making a monumental leap going from what he did in Houston to the NFL. I also say this, if he would have spent 3 years or so developing before being put on the field, he might have had a better chance. And you could say that about a ton of different quarterbacks. It's tough for most players to come in and do meaningful things their rookie years. All right, Win, how do you still sit so long enough to watch a game, Dan Do? I stand all the time. So like right now I'm standing. When I do these shows, I don't sit. I stand, and I stand at this workstation doing my other jobs, pretty much all the day. I don't sit down a whole lot. So it's just, as I've gotten older, sitting bothers me more than standing, especially with my back. So I just stand. So that's what I do. Win. All right. Joseph, what do you got? JMO will be fine when his timing gets on point with more reps. However, Houston is the player that has my attention when he returns healthy. I would agree. So like last year when the defense really rocketed up, and it was probably a multitude of reasons. It's not just Houston, but what Houston did do is he did provide a reason for offensive lines to have to augment blocking assignments to not solely be on Hutchinson, which we're seeing this year, obviously. Once Hutchinson started establishing himself the first couple of games of the year, you started seeing more and more teams by maybe the Buccaneers game, right around there, say, hey, we're just going to put 2 guys in blocking on him, and sometimes 2, and then a third person chipping, and just leave everybody else in single blocking assignments. And for the most part, we haven't made teams pay for it. Houston, if he returns and he can get near the form he was last year, he will help solve a lot of those ill wills. Max, yeah, Houston more important than I thought. Yeah, probably true with everybody. And it's just a guess here, so don't take it as a headline or anything like that. I think if you go back to the start of the year or preseason, the coaches, I get what they were trying to do by, saying, hey, Charles Harris is going to be the starter. James Houston's going to be, the backup or specialist. But I think if they go back now, they would have said, you know what, we'll just start Houston. We'll work on him as far as, stopping the run and pass coverage and everything. But just let that dude do what he does well, and that's go get the quarterback. All right, Phil, the Lions getting too conservative in the red zone. Red zone stats are really bad. Yeah, they're not good this year. I think, boy, that would be a deep dive video for me to have to get into. Without doing that and me just speculating. Some of it is you look at how much zone coverage we're getting this year. There's not many teams that have played us man to man, or at least for the majority of the game they haven't. So the problem becomes when they run zone and they're decent at it, we just don't have somebody that can break the zone for the most part in the back of the end zone or something like that. Laporta can, but you can see how zones do shift towards them to basically have two people on them. And I do think that's part of the reason why they got Donovan Peoples-Jones, to give you a little bit bigger target that can work the basically the sideline and back of the end zone behind the zones to try to get some more scores there. The more that they have to focus on Laporta and then Peoples-Jones or whoever they're going to have in that role, that's going to open up some of the underneath routes for St. Brown, for Gibbs, or Montgomery. So good point on that. One funky comeback sack, not unless the cold is near him. Oh boy, here we go. Jerome, good morning, Dan. My favorite show. In your opinion, do you need to have talented players already, or can you be coached to be talented? So that's a good question. So I'll say this. Coaches can teach you skills. They can help develop that aspect of games. We can't teach athleticism. There's some things you can do to augment it a little bit, like, enough drill work to make you a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger. But ultimately, so just use Jameson Williams as an example. I can't teach that. Nobody can. And that's where the question becomes. Do you have enough faith as a coaching staff? And I'm guessing ultimately, the more I looked at the film last night and early this morning, is that what the coaches saw? Is that what the front office of Detroit saw with Jameson Williams? Can we take this guy who's as raw as he can be and coach him up, get him to be better? Based on what we're seeing so far, or what I'm watching with those films, they are impacting him. It may be more of a workload than they anticipated. I'll say that. But they are making him a better player. If we cut that kid today, somebody's taking him, and then in a year or so from now, Lions fans everywhere, when he's scoring touchdowns or being an impactful player, they're all going to say, man, the front office was idiots. Why did they cut him? Blah, blah, blah. When right now there are fans that are actually saying, get rid of the dude. He's a bum or whatever. Can't make everybody happy. A lot of coaching, a lot of being a general manager is best guess. And my guess, Jerome, is that they looked at him and said, yeah, we can work with that. Again, I just think the only thing is they probably weren't anticipating it taking this long, but the film clearly shows he's improved. All right, Max, I would like to see a first round online pickup next year. Is it too early to talk about draft? Never too early, man. And I'd say there's a strong possibility you're 100% right. So you look at where we're going to draft. It's going to be the latter part of the first round. I think we all pretty much agree on that. So knowing that tackles are going to go off the board pretty early in the draft as far as for offensive line, that means guards would be typically around the end of the first round. That'd be a good spot for us because I do believe it's going to be hard to re-sign Jonah Jackson while signing Panay to a new contract. Decker's got a decent contract, or could it be a center? Are they going to look for the heir apparent to Frank Ragnow? Really, I think a lot of it's going to come down to, do you look at Ragnow at the end of the year and say, hey, he's starting to taper off or significantly? If you think he's maintaining, then maybe you can hold off on drafting a center for another year or so. But I do think, to your point, Max, that interior offensive line is going to be more than likely be a strong option for the Lions in the first round. Second round, I'm going to guess, is probably going to be cornerback or edge rusher. And then if whichever one we didn't get in round 1 or 2, that's probably round 3. All right, Ryan, what do you got? We only one win in the last 25 days. Same old Lions is creeping back in this old guy's mind. We need a win. Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah, but when you have breaks, that happens, right? So it would be real nice to go out there, get on the road, and establish a win. The only thing I will say is, and you guys heard me talk about it yesterday, I just want to see Ben Johnson be a lot more aggressive on first down. Don't just run so consistently every first down and set up second and long and then third and long. So we'll see what happens. Silver Surfer doing a little research. It looks like here. Terry Bradshaw, his first season, 6 TDs, 24 picks. Sorry, Coach. Just wanted to be precise. You're totally fine, man. Like I said, you do a little research, and in today's world, they probably would have moved on from him right after the first season, and obviously that wasn't the right idea. But you could look at other people like, man, how about Warren Moon, Kurt Warner? That people kind of gave up on early, and they had to wait until a little bit older in life to be able to hit and move on. So they all don't work out right off the bat, and to a certain degree, I guess you could say Jared Goff too fits that. All right, Joseph, what do you got? They need to get a top pick center next draft. That toe of rags is concerning. Yeah, I almost wonder. Here's an idea for you guys. Let's just say Ragnow is, hey, you're like, hey, we can get another 2 seasons out of him. Do you move him to guard and draft a center? I don't know. Let's see. Max, let Montgomery rest more for end of season. They could do that, but I'm guessing they're going to play him. It might be more on a pitch count the next couple weeks, just again trying to help that chest, or maybe even the rest of the regular season. We'll see what happens if I'm right on a pitch count. Phil, straight T backfield. It could be. Yeah, it could be. That'd be old school. Brent, do you think we see Rodrigo at fullback again? My answer is yes. I do think we will. Just because we talked about it a little bit ago, before the Raiders game or whatever. But the one thing Rodrigo really has going for him when it comes to either stopping the run as a linebacker or, as you're saying, as a fullback, is his background beyond football at wrestling. You watch him, you can see he's done that for years. He understands how to displace people without even thinking. I sometimes talk about how they're moving Jack Campbell more and more to an edge rusher, maybe out of necessity. But you can watch when he goes through things, pass rush moves, swim moves, up and under moves, how to hook, the offensive lineman's hands and get him off him. He's got to think when he's out there. And that's probably not changing this year. It will get better over the course of the year, but it's going to take him time to get to where he can move from, putting everything from short-term memory to long-term memory where he doesn't have to think. Rodrigo doesn't need that. He's done this jazz for, 10, 15 years or whatever it's been. He's also got the type of frame I would think you'd want in a fullback. Now, I'd say the only question is, at some point, other defensive coordinators see him out there, and they're going to have to do something where it's not a tell that it's going to be a run. So can they have him leak out and catch passes? I have no idea if he can catch. I have no idea if he understands anything about route concepts or how to work to get open with his hips and feet and stuff like that. But if he does, for Rodrigo's point, now his marketability for another contract skyrockets because he can play special teams. He can play linebacker, even if it's backup, and he can play fullback with receiving skills, blocking skills. I would say, Brent, the real long answer is I think we will see him again, and I hope for that kid he does, because that's going to keep his NFL career going to a second contract, and who knows after that. So right now, he needs more skills like that to, I think, secure a second NFL contract. All right, Lincoln, what do you got? The Goff St. Brown connection is the most critical. Yeah, and I would say this, man, that kid's hard to guard, ain't he? I mean, I don't think there's many DBs in the league that could just go one-on-one with him and lock him up 60, 70% of the time. I mean, he's going to get his wins out there. All right, what do we got? What's this on my screen? Oh, one of these things. Boy, I have missed some comments today. All right, Phil, thanks for that. Sorry, I just got this little thing on my screen, and it looks like Bergs too. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I will go have a Mountain Dew and maybe a hot dog on both of you guys. So thanks for that very much. All right, Lincoln, yep, we got that one. What do we got? Anyone predicting the Lions to be 6-2 before this season started? So far, they have exceeded our expectations. Good morning, A, and good morning to you too. There's probably some people that would have guessed it. There's probably also some people that would have said 8-0. There's probably some that would have said 0-8. It's the Lions. They're going to disappoint us, so who knows. But I would say this. They're about where I think most people wanted them to be. Maybe it's say 7-1. Maybe some people thought, hey, 5-3 would have been great. So probably somewhere in there. I will say this. The second half of the season, I just want to keep seeing them progress, stay healthy. and obviously focus on winning the division. You get the North, you're going to get a home playoff game. The number 1 or 2 or 3 seed, that'd be great if it happens. But I'll say my thing is I want to see that offense really start kicking into gear, and I want to see somebody opposite of Hutchinson start getting win rates over 50% of the time when rushing the passer. All right, Phil, no block, no rock. All right, okay. Don, all right. Don's not happy about something, it looks like. Silver Dome, yeah. I love that place, man. And having worked the sidelines at both the Silver Dome and Ford Field, I can tell you they have one thing in common. It smells bad down there. You know, when you get up to the seats and where all the fans sit, it's not bad. But on the field, you can just tell because some of the piping, especially as the Silver Dome got older, yeah, it was sometimes tough taking photos and working games down there. You would have to be ready for it. I'd put it that way. All right, James, good morning, Coach. Just curious in your thoughts on the issues we had with Baltimore. Our corners were playing 10 yards off the receivers on every play, even with the safety help. Yeah, James, and I think a lot of that had to come with the worst thing that probably happened to Detroit leading into that game was the fact that Jerry Jacobs got injured on basically Saturday. So I get the injury wasn't so bad that they were telling him to stay at home, but they put him on the flight, got him to Baltimore, and then had to make a morning/game time decision. Will Harris, they had him take the outside, which I thought was a bit of a surprise to me, have him as the outside corner because Will Harris, hey, he's a great teammate. He does a lot of things. I get it. He can do multiple positions, but coverage really isn't a strength of his, and I think that's why they had him back up so much. I don't remember Cam Sutton. I want to say he wasn't as egregiously off the line of scrimmage or receivers, but Harris was, and I do remember Baltimore targeting him over and over. Aaron Glenn went into that game saying, hey, we're not going to let Lamar beat us on the ground. Great. And Lamar beat him through the air. And that was, I think, my real problem with the game is Aaron Glenn didn't make any adjustments to really after halftime. I want to even say after a drive or two in the third quarter. Ben Johnson shouldn't be absolved from blame either. I was really bad on him because it was like 4 or 5 straight drives at the beginning of the game. Every first down is a run up the middle. And it wasn't getting you anywhere. And because of that, the offense was 3 and out. It was clear Baltimore on D just said, we're not worried about your running game. We're going after the quarterback. So they just kept going. And if they happened to stumble across the running back on a running play on their way to Goff, so be it. They were letting their linebackers go one-on-one to clean up any running play. And to fairness to Baltimore, they did a great job with it. All right. Dr. D, Briggs was cold AF. Briggs, yeah. Michael would have got Lions 31, Chargers 13. Whew. I will buy you a Mountain Dew if you get that score correct. All right, Phil, will Montgomery be Jamal the rest of this year? They're using them basically in the same kind of workload or capacity. It's just the biggest thing is, Jamal, I like Jamal. It's just I think Montgomery is slightly better than him. So what do we got? Trey? Grand Rising to all. I like that. Grand Rising. We're getting closer to Sunday. Lions 34, Chargers 31. A win's a win, man. I take that. Ryan, being a vet myself, don't forget Veterans Day is coming up. Correct. And we'll, try to make sure we give a shout out to all the vets out there. So maybe we'll even try to have the Sarge on that day. All right, Max. It is illegal to use drones to spy on opposing teams. Is it illegal to use drones on spying on opposing teams who practice outdoors? You could get a lot of info. Just need good cameras so they don't catch on. Would be easy. And you guys with the Michigan debacle and everything, I'll just say this. You guys have heard me rant about it a couple different times. It happens everywhere, man. I've had coaches basically come up and just stand within feet of me when we're playing a game and just scout, listening to any of the verbiage, signs, whatever. I can't remember the guy's name. He was on ESPN yesterday, but he went off on it about a minute. And I know he used to be an NFL GM. You really want to get rid of some of this in college sports. I would say this: do what the NFL does. Have the green dot on somebody on D, and then obviously you can directly communicate with the quarterback. Prior to that, everybody used to have like 3 quarterbacks, usually the backups, or 3 players, I should say, on the sidelines. Everybody give out the signals. one person was the correct signals for that particular drive and not the next drive, and they kept switching around. At the high school games I used to cover, everybody's out there. A lot of coaches share information. So when it came out, whatever it was yesterday about Michigan saying that this team and this team shared their information, yeah, that's been happening for forever. So in regard to drones, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody does it. Everybody's looking to get an advantage, and it's just I would tell people, you want our plays, I'll send you some film. You got to do the work to break them down, but you don't have to send people out to come driving to watch it. I'll give it to you because trust me, I've done the same to you. I've already scouted you. Thank you for the bets. Yeah, I agree with that, Phil. JP, Peoples-Jones is for jump balls in the end zone. He wins that kind of matchup most times. The Lions had nobody like that. Yeah, and I think we're talking about this a little bit earlier, JP. Between him and Laporta, that's going to pull a lot of coverage. And I'm going to guess because of that dynamic and so many teams playing zone against us, you're going to see two people basically have to be responsible for Laporta and more, shorter term routes and stuff like that over the middle, yada, yada. You'll see Peoples-Jones work the sideline and then go back behind the zone down the back end of the end zone. And that will, because of that, you've got to have two people basically account for him, unless you're going to play man, two people account for Laporta. And that just means there's less people to blitz and or pick up other persons. So I think it was a good, for what they gave up, I think it was a real good pickup. Max, laugh out loud. Ernie, what do we got? Yes. Okay. Max, true. Phil, what do you got? Use drones as moving targets for quarterback accuracy. Now that's something. Might be costly, but yeah. Any more days do they have off? How many more days do they have off? As far as the Lions, they shouldn't really have too many more unless you're talking about next week. They'll have Monday off, Tuesday kind of off. They'll come back for treatments and some film breakdown, but then they get actually back on the field next Wednesday too. Good idea on quarterback drones. Yeah. Receiver is like a 40 or more yard dash every play. Got to have a good battery. Correct. Detroit D, good morning, everyone. Let's go One Pride. Good morning to you too. Hopefully you're having a great one. Phil, NFL grabs high school players. They cannot be ready for the NFL draft at 19 years old. Yeah, there's very few people like Panay when he came in and was drafted at 19 that physically could hold up at the NFL game. There's just, maybe some of you guys were different, but I can tell you this. 19-year-old me would have got destroyed and would get destroyed by anyone in the NFL. All right, what do we got? Max, we're going to build that spectrum. Would have to take donations for the camera, a power supply, a battery. If you pull that off, man, you could probably get some NFL teams and college teams to throw you some significant money. I'll put it that way. Nice green halo. Yeah, it's the dew halo, right? Yeah, like I said, maybe this weekend I'll try to order an actual bigger screen, green screen. All right, Michael, Don Peoples-Jones was good all year off the injury list the first week. The Lions, he's questionable. Hey, it is what it is, man. It's just law of averages, whatever you want to say. Phil, I did not realize Dobbs on the Vikings was Arizona starter. Yeah, he was. Want to say the Vikings are now his fifth team in a year. So maybe this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. Jerome, hey, coach, is the turf causing players to get hurt? It does to a degree, in my belief. I'm not a huge fan of it. I've talked in past episodes of Lions Talk Live. Most of the teams over in Europe, the Middle East, so just using soccer as an example, the stadiums are not artificial turf. They roll, like they have to, most of them roll the turf, or excuse me, the grass in. So they literally think of it like putting a baking pan in the oven. They have these massive sheets that they can slide the grass into the stadium and then pull it on out so it can grow and recover on non-game days. So I would say that, yeah, I'm a fan. I know Arizona does it. Somebody, when we started talking about this a few weeks ago, pointed out that the Cardinals do that with their field. I would be a big fan of all the NFL teams doing that. I think it would protect the players more. The problem I'm sure we're all get is the cost, and the maintaining, moving it around, things like that. Ernie, what do you got? Hey, Dan, how do you do? Haha, I will be doing very well in about a couple minutes when off the air, and then heading over to the Circle K. I was actually in there a couple days ago, and somebody said, "You're the Lions dude." I was like, "Yes, I am." All right, Phil, agree, Jerome, turf is dangerous to players. Yeah, and players, they've been talking about it for 40 years, man. They don't like the stuff. I will say this, give the Ford family some credit. I'm not privy to all the nuances of the new turf they have, but they were wanting to replace the field at Ford Field for 2025. But Sheila said, no, we're going to speed it up. She had to spend some extra money, but she got it done for this season a couple of years earlier. I haven't heard anything from the players, whether they like the new stuff or if they don't. I know it's supposed to be a massive upgrade and improvement over the prior stuff. So hopefully it's working out well. All right, Bergs, so hit that like button, everyone, and let's help Dan reach his goal. Let's reach out to other Lions faithful to sub. Yeah, if you guys want, if you like the stuff, please subscribe, hit the like button. I mean, you guys all get that jazz. All right, Max, going back to bed, half asleep. Well, get some sleep, buddy. We'll see you, man. All right, night, Max. All right, pound the drums. Don't forget to upvote. Yep, thank you for that. Phil, dew is on me this morning. All right, Phil, Panay Sewell through the hole in front of Gibbs. I've heard some people speculate about moving him to basically a fullback role on specific plays. I could see it in a gold line situation, but you're going to want to make sure you've got somebody good out there blocking for you. All right, one funky. Warner and Moon were both 28 when they finally made it to the NFL. Yeah, and that's kind of my point with it is sometimes, especially at the quarterback position, letting somebody have more time to evolve, mature, it's not a bad thing. Trey, do you think they draft a wide receiver this upcoming draft? Maybe the later rounds. It seems like Brad Holmes does have I guess you could say a schedule. He's like using last year's example. We got a quarterback, a running back, tight end, receiver. You can even say receivers, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, corner, safety. So, yeah, I mean, you hit every position, and I wouldn't be surprised if they keep doing that. Phil, what do you got? Rodrigo knows leverage. Yes, you watch his hands especially, and then his footwork to go with it to help power through it. You can see the wrestling background. Let's leave Dan a small tip. Thanks for that, by the way. Thank you very much for that, Phil. Phil Anbergs. Phil, my realtor drives a VW Bug. Well, I mean, everybody's got cars, right? Phil, Lions been starting slow after the half in particular. How do we solve that? I think a lot of it just comes down to play calling. I'm a big fan of being aggressive. I'd rather swing and miss than not have swung at all. Maybe that makes sense to you. All right, a couple more, and it's due time for me. T-Cheer, half regular, half Diet Mountain Dew, thirsty from Myers gas station. Dan, cheers. All right, now you're talking, man. All right, Derek, what do you got? Do you think the league is going to do W? I'm not sure what you mean there. All right, Derek, do something about the tush push. Oh, gotcha. The league will have to address that play eventually. Yeah, I think they're going to have to, either that or defensive coordinators. I mean, I see more people gambling, kind of going over the top, trying to hit that quarterback as he's hiking. I think it's gonna lead to either a lot more free first downs or a lot more quarterbacks getting hit in the head, and that's probably not something they want. So they'll have to address it. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. We've been on for basically 56 minutes. Hope you all have a great one. If something pops up later in the day, some breaking news, of course, I'll go ahead and get that to you. So otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. See y'all.